Okay, folks. So this is the lesson on cell organelles and function. And in this lesson, we're just trying to figure out, okay, so what are cells? What are they made up of? And inside of a cell, it's kind of think of it as a living organism. It's just like you're a living organism. The cells have little organelles, or little organs called organelles that allow them to do various life functions. And so that's kind of what we'll go through. So lesson 1.2, cell organelles and function. What's their job? If you look at what we need to know by the end of this lesson, the basic unit, structure, and function of living organisms is a cell. Rudolf Virchow told us that back in lesson 1.1, the cell theory. So you need to recognize and be able to understand and describe the structure and function of both the animal and plant cell organelles. They're slightly different with a couple different organelles or structures that allow the animal cell to be an animal cell and plant cell to be a plant cell. Compare and contrast the structures of plant and animal cells. How do they differ? Now, are they the same? Explain how a cell's organelles function as a system, similar to a body's organ systems. So we have the respiratory system, the integumentary system, endocrine system. What type of things does the cell have that allow it to function? And describe the role of specialized cells in multicellular organisms. For example, a nerve cell, an erythrocyte is a red blood cell, root cells, leaf cells, and how cells can work together to form tissues, organs, and organ systems. All right, you don't really need much for this lesson other than your iPad or laptop computer. So again, take notes if you'd like to. You do not need to submit those. The second task is to look through the presentation. And I'll read that for you here in a second. Watch the video and then complete the 3 items in the learning menu. Usually in the first column, the items are more study guide, vocabulary type lessons. And then column B and C are more complicated. And then you need to do the proof of knowing assignment. If you have not looked at the proof of knowing and how to do it, look in the announcements, and I have a small video there as well. Okay, and submit all those things. So here we go. Okay, so as we look through this presentation, I'll just kind of read through it and go over some of the things. We talked about what we want to understand by the time we're done with this lesson. What's the basic unit of life? The cell. How do cell organelles work together as a system, conduct a variety of functions associated with life? The lesson objective, describe the structure and function of both the animal and the plant cell organelles, and explain how a cell's organelles function as a system similar to a body system. So if you look at the picture, there's a cell with the nucleus inside of it, the purple nucleus. All right, so the basic structure of true cells: the cell membrane, the nucleus, which is this thing right here. Cell membrane would be the outer layer. Cell organelles, and the cytoplasm. Morning. Cell organelles and structure and function. Boundary of the cell made of a phospholipid layer. That's this layer here, which has some proteins in it, these pink items. And then this membrane is semi-permeable, meaning it allows some things in and out of it, and some things it prevents from entering or leaving. Controls the movement of substances in and out of cells. For example, organic molecules or ions. Ions are just charged particles. The barrier between the cells and the interior components of the outer environment. So here you look at a cell and the organelle. So we'll start going over those here. The little individual items that you see are all small little organs that do a job just like the heart does for a body. All right, these are found in what are known as true cells or eukaryotic cells. Surrounding the organelles is cytosol, watery fluid, and other molecules. Everything in a plant cell except the nucleus is the cytoplasm. So all this blue stuff in here is a fluid. Everything kind of bathes in. And then 2 general kinds derived from the membranes of the organelle, and then bacteria-like organelles. So there are two different types. Cell organelle structure and function. Here's the types. All right, so we have symbiotic bacteria, their ancient association, the endosymbiotic theory of how cells arrived, and then the evolution of the modern cells from cells in symbiotic bacteria derived from membranes. If you'd like to, you can click on here and watch the video. The nucleus found in eukaryotic cells. It contains the majority of the cell's genetic material, DNA, chromosomes, and genes. It's surrounded by a semi-permeable nuclear membrane. And then you see over here, these little pores allow things to enter and to leave the nucleus. And it is the control center of the cell, basically like the main office in a school. This organelle is known as the mitochondria. The mitochondria provides the energy for our system. It's able to undergo some part of respiration and produce ATP. So it's a membrane-bound organelle found in the cytoplasm, almost every eukaryotic cells that have a nucleus. Primary function, generate large quantities of energy in the form of adenosine triphosphate, or ATP, so known as the powerhouse of the cell. And it is believed that this particular item, this mitochondria, has its own DNA and was once not part of a true cell, and was it entered into a different cell and all of a sudden started to reproduce, and now cells have this particular item in it. And the benefit to the cell, it has some protection, it gets food, and it gets energy from this particular organelle. It has its own DNA. The endoplasmic reticulum helps move substances within cells. Network of interconnected membranes. You can see all these membranes over here in the blue and the orange. There's two different types. If it has ribosomes on it, these little blue dots, the protein makers, it's called the rough endoplasmic reticulum. And then if it doesn't have those ribosomes, it's called the smooth endoplasmic reticulum. They both do different things. So if it has the ribosomes on it, which make proteins, then the rough ER is going to be involved with making proteins. And if it doesn't, it will be involved with making lipids or fats. And so the smooth endoplasmic reticulum helps with lipids. All right, so there's the ribosomes. Again, like we said, they help in protein production. They're protein builders, synthesizers of the cell. Synthesize means to put together. The construction guys who connect one amino acid at a time and build long chains. Proteins are made up of amino acids. And they're found in both prokaryotes and eukaryotes, both true cells and cells that do not have a nucleus. Prokaryotes do not have a nucleus. The Golgi body is another organelle, otherwise known as the Golgi apparatus, the Golgi complex. It's the packaging organelle, kind of like UPS. It packages and ships, takes big molecules and packages them in vesicles, either stores them for later use or sends them out of the cell. Lysosome is a destroyer. Lyse means to cut. And so this is a floating vesicle in the cytoplasm. You can see a little picture here, and that's a cross section of it. It contains all kinds of digestive enzymes used to digest food, remove dead organelles, break down dead cells, just to basically help keep the cell clean and healthy. It formed in the Golgi complex. See the lysosome in action. You just click on that button there and you can see it, and then functions as a garbage disposal as well for the cell. Okay, we talked about the cytoplasm. It's everything inside the cell other than the organelles, and it's just a fluid that everything's bathing in. It contains some other types of items like filaments and so forth to help give it a little bit of structure. The fluid is called cytosol. It's not in the nucleus, and storage substance. Microtubules are a component of the cytoskeleton. Tubular polymers of tubulin can grow as long as 50 micrometers, usually discussed with microfilaments. They play a role in the movement of cilia, flagella, chromosome movement during cell division. Centrioles, again, are these guys up here. And we'll talk about these in detail with cell division, where they're helping to move chromosomes to proper places. So anyway, a small set of microtubules arranged in a specific way, 9 groups of microtubules found in pairs and move towards the poles, the opposite ends of the nucleus, when it's time for cell division. Spindle fibers radiate out from the centrioles during cell division, and they help move chromosomes. So here's an example of a plant cell. Its shape is more rectangular, whereas the animal cell takes on a lot of different shapes. Their shape will determine their function to some extent. So the lysosomes are the animal cell's garbage disposal. Plant cells, garbage disposal takes place in vacuoles. And so if you look, there is no lysosome within the plant cell. They have these things known as vacuoles. Plant cells have a cell wall. It's outside of the cell membrane. Chloroplasts, which are also different, not in the animal cell, and some other plastids or energy capturing bodies. And there are large central vacuole as well, which stores water and other things. Those are not found in the animal cell. So what is a plastid? Are the site and manufacture of important chemical compounds used by the cell, generally involved in either the manufacture or storage of food, chloroplasts, chromoplasts, leucoplasts, are all examples of plastids, and they're basically different colors, so they absorb different wavelengths of light and reflect other wavelengths. Inside of the chloroplast, there are some, the chloroplast itself is an organelle inside of a plant. You can see down here, these are real ones inside of a cell, and they are involved in the capturing of sunlight and helping to start to convert it into sugar. All right, are the food producers of the cell found in plant cells and some protists, such as algae, work to convert light energy of the sun into sugars that can be used by cells. The cell wall allows plants to grow up towards the sun. It's real stiff and rigid. Rigid layer of polysaccharides or sugars lying outside the plasma membrane of the cells. Functions protects the cell and helps provide some strength. The central vacuole, again, vacuole of storage bubbles found in cells. They're found in both the animal and plant cells. Vacuole store nutrients. And that's it.